Well, I can order in bar restaurant, but I'll have this kind of discussion. So I don't know, do you need translation?
We can ask again. Do më thonë kur ka nevojë për këtë? Jo? Okay? No.
Okay, great. Okay. So thank you, Tuta, for starting the discussion about education, actually about quality of education, and actually about aligning education with labor market. So I'm coming from WUS Austria, and I'm here in Kosovo since 2 years, but that's the project I'm running is about aligning education and labor market, not only on the higher education level, but mostly on the wet level. So what we are doing in the project actually is that we have two main pillars. So we are trying actually to establish or improve the system for aligning of education, and we are testing the system by producing some products, meaning study programs. So we are checking the system actually, every chain, every step in the system. As Drejtor explained, the system is starting with development of occupation standards, then we go to qualification, then we go in the curricula, in implementation of the programs. And for every single step of the in a system, you have agencies or you have actually stakeholders who are responsible for the steps. So what we did, we checked the system by developing the qualifications, standards, curricula, and now we're introducing this to the providers as close to us. So what we have defined actually, first step in our project was to do labor market assessment, and we have done labor market assessment in we select three sectors. We selected agriculture, food technology, and handicraft engineering as a sector of the focus of our project. Why? Because after having a labor market assessment, we checked actually that you cannot ignore agriculture in Kosovo, because 60% of the people are somehow connected with agriculture. Rather, they live for agriculture, or they live from agriculture. If you want to have agriculture, it's very stupid not to have food technology, because with the food technology you can increase the value. And of course you need somebody who will maintain the process, who will maintain machinery needed for agriculture and for food technology, and which we have chosen mechanical engineering as a sector. First, what we have checked is there is a need for the different qualifications in these three sectors. And second, what we have checked is that the need is mostly on level 2, 3, and maybe 4, not on level 6 and 7. Meaning that if you need, you don't need engineers actually, but you need people who will work in the maintenance, in the production, or in the growing of the agriculture. That was the first. And having this in mind, we will be very surprised that only few people after finishing VET are not trying to go to universities. So everybody who enroll VET, we ask the kids, the first idea, I'm enrolling VET, but I will go for the university. Only few of them would say to you, no, after finishing school, I will try to find a job on the job market. That's the primary problem. The next problem is actually that if you have this approach, and we definitely have this approach in Kosovo, we are making huge pressure on the higher education system. So in the last few years, we have doubled students. We increased the number of the students, we doubled tax, but we didn't increase the number of graduates, meaning that the increase of enrollment don't mean increasing the number of graduates. So we have huge dropout rates, and I'm sure we didn't track it, but I'm sure that the dropout rate is mostly related to the people from VET, because they don't have a real chance actually against the students who finished gymnasia. So we have set up a system which is very strange, that you have 3-year education and you are allowed to enter universities as somebody who have 4 years of stable education. That's very unusual. Second thing is that the problem with the VET system in Kosovo is actually that we are missing industry. We are missing industry. 95% of our companies are 2 to 5 people in companies. And this kind of company are not able to communicate with education actually, because they don't have absorption capacity for everything what we are trying to do. Doing internships, to exchange knowledge, to exchange the technology, the people who have companies are still actually fighting to survive. And it's not easy to find the partners for education institutions. Few of them being pretty big, like the Voldy or I know the insurance companies. I'm not talking about the economic sector. I'm talking really about the production sector, real sector. I'm not talking about insurance and banks. They're big, and telecommunication. But I'm talking about somebody who is producing values. And there are only a few companies who can be partner in education. And that's the problem, actually. Second problem, and I discuss it a lot with Tuta, is actually that you are losing the people who are able to be educated. So I'm talking about that, actually, because usually when you have a look in teaching stuff at vet schools, the young teachers, and we have young and old teachers. We are missing the middle age. So old teachers are going into pension will go into pension for a few years. Young teacher don't have any working experience. So usually what they're doing after graduating at University of Pristina, let's say construction, they will go to vocational school and they will teach the kids in vocational school without being one single day on a construction on the field. So that's the problem, actually. And additionally, we don't have we discussed a lot about level 4 of education. When we have discussed with the companies what they need, everybody will tell you, I would need engineer. Then when you go deeper in discussion and discuss about generic or specific competencies, after few sentences, they will understand and you understand they don't need engineer, they need technicians. Because one engineer is enough to run 50 employees. And then when you discuss with them, they will tell you, you will end with that you don't need engineers, you need technicians, but we don't have them. Actually, we are missing technicians coming from the vet sector, because we have actually only 3 years of education, and 3 years of education is simply not enough to gain experience and knowledges to become technician. We have operators, so it's very different. Do you have operator for CNC machine, or you have mechanical technicians who can run the process, who can run people, and who is able to adapt the technology for the new products. So that's our practical problem. We do work with 8 schools, and beside trying to increase teaching capacity, meaning pedagogical and methodological capacities, we also have the ability to equip the schools. And what we did actually, we did technical assessment in surrounding the schools. We have checked the companies and checked technology that companies are using, and we decided to buy equipment which is step ahead of from the equipment in surrounding, because we believe that there is that's the way that the school might be leaders in technology in the regions. If we are going to wait that the industry will grow and offer us enough internship possibilities, or offer the job, I think we are on the wrong way. I think that educational system should in these years should take a lead and should go a step ahead of the industry in surrounding, because there is no other way to employ students, because employment of the students in the vet level is only about trust. So I'm coming actually from Austria, and in Austria we have, I'm Bosnian, coming from Austria, and in Austria we have dual educational system, meaning, you know what it is, it's like, so this system is established only on the trust between education and industry. So if this trust is not there, you will not be able to employ the students. And trust can be built rather. You invite kids to come to the companies, or the school is better equipped, has better capacities as the industry, and school is pushing the process. Let's talk about other few challenges. We have a lot of initiatives in Kosovo who are trying to build up system based on incentives. So I spoke. Ivona is having this, I think, kind of research of incentives, and we. I don't support this issue. I don't support it this way because the industry has to be able to be good enough to have a need for the students, and incentives can happen only if you have a big industry in your surroundings. So we have experience from Slovakia. They try actually to increase quality of enrollment, because it's actually about enrollment. It's about increase quality of enrollment in the vet schools by giving scholarships to the students. That was not functioning. That started to function only when Slovakia got the huge automotive industry, and the people were able to find a job after finishing schools. These incentives without perspective are not functioning. That's my experience. What we can do, we can try to increase quality of the vet education, and we have to start by increasing quality of the enrollment, by changing the image of the vet system. Next step is, as Drejtor said, we have to work on qualifications, meaning of occupational qualifications which are needed and which has a future. We have to invest in experience of the teachers, I would say, not only in pedagogical and methodological capacity, but also experience of the teacher. And I think we have to make sure that the kids who finish the vet system do have access to higher education, but they are primarily educated to find a job on the market. And not going opposite, actually, that the vet education is the way for enrollment in higher education. Talking about higher education, last sentence, we have the same problems, actually, that we have hundreds of programs which are fancy and sexy, but actually doesn't have anything the labor markets need. We have plenty of programs in public universities, but also in private universities, which introduce every year new programs. After finishing these programs, kids don't find employment. And opposite, there are few programs which are not very attractive, but kids do find employment. So something is, I think, wrong in the system. We have to reshape the system. We have the state. It's my opinion, has to take a lead and has to make measures how to regulate part of employment in vet education and higher education. I'm not for the regulation of the education 100%, but I think in some period of the development of the state and country and society, state has to have strong hand and to say, okay, I will not pay anymore for 5,000 students who will study law and economy. I will, if they want to study, they have to pay, but I will invest the money in some sectors which has to be defined. And we are back on our project. It was labor market assessment. I really think that every education program for the vet has to start with labor market assessment, and not would be based on interest of the school, interest of the municipality, of MED, or experience of the teacher.